Hello there, only one Kenobi here, only one. I see this video will probably take as long as it takes because I want to talk about what is the best Han Solo 3 3/4 inch. Also, it's an excuse for me to open this, which I got on eBay not long ago. It's to open and it's a Han Solo, which I kind of like the look of. I don't have a Han Solo trench coat proper on my shelf, so that's something that I want to do. And then I'm not going to show you all my 3 3/4 inch hands. Maybe that's for another video. I just want to talk about what is the best, and one hopes that we will get what could be the best in future, before they stop these bubbles. So yeah, as you can see, I've got a few hands knocking about here. I just thought I'd get that one out. I used to love that one. Again, I will like to show you all my hands possible, get them all off the shelf, but just for today, maybe a top 5, and we can talk about all these others as well, like ones I don't like, but I obviously like them carded, like this fat-headed one here. Interesting. What have I done with him as well? I actually, funnily enough, speaking of, here they are, they're right beneath me. I was going to film this video the other day. Speaking of hands that are ceremonial, I actually use what I consider my favourite hand for a Yavin ceremony hand. This is it. This is the VOTC. Let's go right in, ladies and gentlemen, in at the deep end. And this is what I consider, and many consider, to be the best Han Solo in 3 3/4 inch. But I'll make a final decision on that at the end of this video. But as you can see, I had a spare medal and I put that around him only because I sort of moved him off my, I had him on a Tatooine shelf or something like that in Mos Eisley, and then I've got a Yavin Ceremony Luke now that was in TVC, and because I ain't opening the Fathead, because he's expensive, man. I don't know what he costs now, but he was always an expensive carded figure, Fathead hand, which is number 42. I say Fathead, he's a tip of the hat by Hasbro to the original, because there was one with a thin and one with a fat head. The one in the retro collection's got the fat head. And that's all I gotta say about that. So that's what I do with my VOTC hand. This is the VOTC, and many concur this is the best they've done to date. It's not perfect because he is quite skinny, and they could do with bulking him out. But depending on how the light catches him, he's probably better to see him loose, really. He is a really good Han Solo. That's why I want to open that VOTC Endor hand, because he's similar. Look at that, see, the hair's really good. He's in the same vein as this guy. Round about that era, they did really well. So I'll open him shortly. He's a very similar head, actually, to this VOTC one. I bet you if you remove that Endor coat as well, you'd get pretty much the same figure. Anyway, open him later. Speaking of Endor, I have these two here, which I'm not going to open in this video, but I bought these specifically to open. This is the most recent Endor hand, which is a reissue of the VC. Here it is now, the VC 62. So it's in essence the same figure. There's the original one, although as you can see by the colour of his trench coat, slightly more beige. This one's very much more of a grey. This is one I've always wanted to open, only because it reminds me so much of the VOTC one, which is a classic. But I'm darting around everywhere here, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're keeping up with me. Speaking of the VOTC, this is another good hand, and I'd be tempted to put him as my number 1. This is the hand that came with the search for Luke Skywalker. And look at him, he is a really good one. I think it's the quest or the search for Luke Skywalker. It came in a Hoth set. You got him, you got a Hoth Rebel soldier, and more importantly, Han's Tauntaun. In the TVC, they gave you Luke's Tauntaun, which is in essence the same Tauntaun, but not as dark as this. I think this represents the male of the species. Never assume the gender of the Tauntaun. Anyway, but actually, I'd be inclined to. Do you know what? I think he could be my favourite Han. That is just so good, isn't it? But look, it has got something about it that is recycling that mould, that classic VOTC, as does this one. So I think I'm going to do what I need to do now, which is to open this Endor one, which is the VOTC one. I'm going to show you firstly the card back, which is a classic card, and it's nice to see this. It's unpunched back in the VOTC days. On the back, you see, it's almost like the embryo the pre-embryotic days of the vintage collection, the germ of the vintage collection, and it's the Saga collection, also known as the Vintage Saga collection. So it ain't the VOTC. The VOTC was 2004. This is 2006. Let me show you the back of the VOTC card. See, it was called the Vintage Original Trilogy Collection because it came out at the same time as the Original Trilogy Collection, whereas this one, the Saga collection, was knocking around back then. And the packaging was quite similar to those. It was kind of like a domey bubble. And but they couldn't call that the Saga. This was the Vintage Saga collection, obviously done on a vintage style packaging. So I think I'd like to open this guy. Let's do it. What are we waiting for? Yeah, from my experience of the VOTC, they open so well, and you can do things like you can put vintage figures inside these, as in vintage 80s. I've done that before, way before the retro collection existed. I got some stuff off eBay and recarded it. Now, here he is. Obviously, the jacket is quite puffy on him. Giving him a little sniff. Smells fresh to me. First thing I want to do is take off. Yeah, now this is interesting now. His jacket is fatter and wider. In fact, this hand here is somewhere between what you got with this hand and that one over there, the VC62. Because he's got a wider top body. He's almost like top heavy. When people say he's skinny, they've bulked him out on the top, but they still never did anything. They should have basically made the legs fatter. That's the problem. I don't like this guy's jacket, and I don't like his either. It's crap. It needs to be more fitted now. This one is fitted. Look at that one. That's great. But his arms are quite skinny. This guy. Yeah, I'm actually, now I've taken his jacket off, quite disappointed with this one. Except the one thing I do like is the head sculpt. I like the head. Look at that one. That's Harrison Ford. Look at it. That's a brilliant head. The other fella, I don't like him. He looks too narrow. I'm going to go and zoom in on him now. I'm really sorry. I can't open him, I'm afraid, because I'm being really anal. The action figure grader will understand. So will Tim from Bosk Bounty. I'm now meticulous about what I open. It's very hard to tell. Look at this one here. See at the top there? There's like a tiny blemish on that one, but this one looks better in the packaging, whereas this one over here, let me grab him for you. Oh! I'm not sure if his eyes are correct or not. I just don't think that looks like Harrison Ford. But that's just my opinion. On the back, has he got a little bit? Yeah. It's like, it's ridiculous. There's nothing in it. My God, the stuff I used to buy on eBay years ago, I never even considered the packaging. As long as it was unpunched, I was happy. But I've become a lot more picky. Right, so that's him. I've now seen what he's like. He's yellowed a bit there on the chest, actually. I think that is yellow in that. He's all right like that, I suppose. But this jacket here, do something with him. And there's another hand I want to show you. There's this one here. This is a real standalone figure. Came with the Millennium Falcon, Legacy Collection Falcon. He might have come out elsewhere. Someone else will know that. But he's also really good. I think he's no good. I've put his jacket on now. He doesn't... Maybe it's because I've got his hands behind his back. He doesn't seem as skinny. Maybe it's because he's got the headset and he's got the gloves on. Really tough to know. It's a close call. I think if you want me to give you a top 5, I shall do that now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give you a top 5 right now. But firstly, to give you a proper top 5, I need to go on a little tour. So let me just think. In 5th place, ladies and gentlemen, he's got a lot of potential. In fact, I love that facial sculpt. Brilliant. He's me number 5. Number 4, I'm going to go for a tour. I'm going to give this guy 4th place. He's a great hand. It's fairly new. I actually thought that when they made this figure, Hasbro had sort of had a bit of artistic license and given him a bit of, what do you call him now, Adam Driver. I thought he had, from certain angles, he looks like Harrison Ford, but actually, he kind of sometimes looks a little bit like, look at that, push through. No one knows what you did with the map. I thought I could see a bit of Adam Driver. but he's got a pointy nose more than Harrison Ford has. But that's my number 4. Why not? Number 3. I'm going to give it to this guy because, you know, he's not any better than that because you can't take the headset off, sadly. That would be good. And he just looks good. He's very unique, very exclusive, and I like how he looks. You see Han wearing those gloves a lot in A New Hope, and so that figure is what pings it for me. He's let down by these, look at these swivel joints there. In fact, let me just check my man from Endor that I've just opened. Has he got swivel? No, they've ball jointed him. That's great. Well done, Hasbro. Number 2. You know what, ladies and oh, look what I've just left in here. I've got a hand blaster in there. I'll have to take that out. I'm actually going to defy what I actually thought I was going to say. This used to be my favorite and kind of still is. It's a really good, it's the best one for regular Han. Just get rid of the medal there so you can just see him without. They really need to update this though. Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, they are the main characters of the bloody franchise, and Hasbro, what are you doing, man? You need to get them done in TVC, definitively. But do you know what? Had I never bought this figure, I wouldn't have known how good it was. This is my favourite Han Solo figure. While I love The Empire Strikes Back, I think Han is totally heroic in that film, selfless, and this figure is just, there's something about the face, just the right touch done to that man. I really dig it. I think it's awesome. Like it, I'd like it a lot. It's just on the Tauntaun as well, it's great. This may smell bad, kid, but it'll keep you warm. I thought they smelled bad on the outside. What a legend. Thank you for watching. They are my favourite Hans, and I've made the decision on what is my absolute favourite now. Down to you, Hasbro. Make me a new one to make me a new favourite. You can do it, and you must do it. This has been Only One Kenobi. Only one. Out.